Hello, WSBC Conference 2020. Woo! It's been a year. And so here to help you kind of unpack and talk about some of the issues that we've all dealt with this year is this wonderful panel. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Geason-Bauer, and I'm a board member for the Wisconsin State Business Council. And I also happen to be the vice chair of the Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington County Workforce Development Board, and Jerry's on that board with me. So I'm really excited to have a great conversation this afternoon and to moderate this panel where we talk about partnerships and how important partnerships are in interacting and leveraging sustainability within our business and within our greater community. So we have three amazing speakers today. I'm going to do a little introduction to everybody. Everybody just wave your hand at me. And then each speaker is going to tell us a bit about some cool partnership opportunities that they're working on right now. So our first speaker is Kenya Jacobs. Let's raise your hand, Kenya. She is the Director of Diversity, Recruiting, and Workforce Development at Trane Technologies. Welcome, Kenya. Our next speaker will be Jerry Baake. Jerry is the manager. Oh, Jerry, you went away. Hopefully Jerry will come back. Jerry is the manager of workforce development for, thank you, Jerry, you're back. He's the manager for workforce development, Wisconsin for Advocate Aurora here in Wisconsin. And then our third speaker will be Jenna Kundi. She's the director of global sustainability for Johnson Controls, Inc. And so our session really wants to be very educational. And so we've put together a whole resource library for you. Now, don't go look at it right now because you have to leave the session to see it. But if you go to the auditorium later today, you can click there on the auditorium page and there's a resource library where many of the things we're going to talk about are listed as resources. Our panel will also be sharing some additional resources in the chat box today. So if you have questions, please chat them at me, and we're going to turn it over to Kenya for her to tell us a bit about partnerships that she's working on with Trane Technologies. Kenya.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa. Really excited about the opportunity to share some of the things that are going on and learn from the other panelists. At Trane Technologies, and just let me clarify as well, in Wisconsin, people know the brand Trane, but Trane Technologies is kind of the parent organization, and then our brands are Trane and Thermo King. So it's a new company that kind of evolved in March. So part of our process this year has not just been trying to manage the normal things that everyone else is navigating, but also kind of helping to build some recognition for the new organization. I'm fortunate in that in the role that I have, I support diversity recruiting. So I have a foot in talent acquisition, but then I'm also a part of the diversity and inclusion team. One of my primary partners is actually our corporate social responsibility group. So if you think about it from a sustainability perspective, we've got a team that's really talking about, energy management and kind of our green sustainability efforts. But then there's this separate group that's responsible for people and community engagement. So they've been one of my primary partners because they've helped us kind of in our 2020 commitments, and then they just recently launched their 2030 community commitments. So trying to partner with them to make sure that we're not just looking at what can we do in terms of engaging young people around STEM initiatives or food security platforms, but also thinking about the gift of employment and workforce readiness. One of the things that's been really helpful to us is to think, especially this year, around some of the blind spots. There's been a lot of activity and conversation just around, making sure that we're letting the communities know what we're doing as an organization. But one thing that you have to be mindful of is making sure that your internal community of employees also understand what you're working on. Just a really good example is we give an employee scholarship or a scholarship to employees dependents. And that corporate social responsibility team this year went back and revisited what are the levels of education that we've historically rewarded scholarships for. And an organization like ours, where we know that people are quite successful and build great careers through the trades, are we giving a scholarship to dependents that would even give them a pathway into the trades? So just something as small as revisiting an existing employee benefit to make sure that it aligns with the things that are important to us externally was something that is extremely impactful, and our employees will benefit from it. Another thing that we've had to consider is that just being mindful of having a goal that everybody is aware of. So there was a lot of effort to communicate internally around the 2030 commitments. So once again, that there's that continuity across not just our headquarter locations, but even some of our smaller sales office locations are across the US and Canada with our footprint. We want to make sure that our employees understand that the things that are important to us in our headquarters are important to us in our smaller communities as well. One of the things I'd also say that's been impactful for us is leveraging internships. So I would encourage people that if you're thinking of a way to bring a diverse workforce in to your organization, take the approach of looking at internships as a really easy pathway. It is a low commitment opportunity. I tell students sometimes you can do anything for 12 weeks, right? 12 weeks over the summer. It's a good way to not only test your major and maybe what you think is your desired interest in terms of career, but you get to really test the full process. Do I want to work in this environment? Am I a person that needs to be in the office, or I'd rather be with customers? But it gives us an opportunity to once again reward people for their effort and reward them at a wage that's scalable within that community. So not only getting a chance to practice, but getting a chance to be compensated for that practice is extremely helpful. It also helps us from a perspective of hiring, because where I would normally have hired somebody from a 30-minute interview, I now have 12 weeks of data. I've got 12 weeks of data, or I have a semester from a co-op, and it really kind of confirms my desire to make that hire. The other thing I would say is look at some of your existing partnerships. In the greater Charlotte area, which is where the Trane Technologies headquarters is located, we had an existing relationship with the Urban League of the Central Carolinas. So we started off by one of our employee resource groups understanding that there was HVAC training offered through this nonprofit organization. The Black Employee Network began to reach out, and we eventually gave a donation of equipment to help support that lab and ensuring that they were training folks on updated equipment. Well, that was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And we've continued to partner with them and added on having a lunch and learn and bringing people to our campus so that they could do resume review and mock interviews. Well, this year, the city of Charlotte also had a funding opportunity where they could create more spaces in this training with the Urban League to help reskill some people that had been displaced due to all of the impacts within the coronavirus. So we've got people who were CAD designers and folks that worked in hospitality that had an opportunity to go through a 12-week or 14-week training program. They will graduate next week. We still leverage the same thing that our Black Employee Network was doing before, and they did virtual mock interview skills and resume writing and virtual lunch and learns. And we actually added on last week an opportunity to bring in some of our trained residential dealers and create a career fair. So just another opportunity to say, here's a partner that we've had for a while. In light of where we are today, are there things we can do where we can bring to bear our resources with having this relationship with some of the dealers who may have job opportunities? So I would encourage people to think about, it's not always about creating new relationships, but maybe revisiting existing relationships to find new opportunities. The last thing I'll share, and would love to answer questions about it as well, is thinking about relationships with some of our schools. When we think recruiting, a lot of times we're thinking of four-year colleges, but we have some strong partner relationships with technical schools. There's an organization called NC3 that creates credentialing and curriculum for some of the tech schools. And Trane has two programs, a controls program and a residential HVAC program. We've never really looked at taking people past graduation into employment. So it's another opportunity to say, here's an existing partner. We already have the relationship. Can we create a pathway from formal education into employment? So just really encouraging people to not always look at the end state of the relationship, but think about where you are today and look at all the opportunity and just continue to refresh and bolt on things as new opportunities present themselves.
That's amazing, Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I feel like we've learned so much just from hearing you speak. So sorry, other two speakers, you have a lot to you have a lot to follow up on, but I think you did a great job of highlighting this level of partnership, right? Partnership can be existing partnerships, it can be new partnerships, and it's at all levels, within education, within community. Amazing. So thank you so much for sharing, especially working with the city of Charlotte. That's a really cool project. And I'm so glad you were able to this year kind of take it a step further.
That's great.
That's amazing. All right, so Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you've been working on here in Wisconsin, or more of a localized workforce development story and the cool stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, definitely. And Kenya, you're a hard act to follow here. You set the bar really high for me. So, just as a quick introduction to myself, I'm Jerry Baake, the manager of workforce development for Wisconsin at Advocate Aurora Health. So, our workforce development function is a newer specialty within the HR area within Advocate Aurora. It started off with some grant work that we have been doing in the Illinois area for a number of years, and has transitioned to really a center of excellence within the HR field. So our workforce development philosophy is it really circles around the outside in and inside up approach. Outside in meaning we work with job seekers that are non-work ready. So those individuals that may lack hard or soft skills or both to come into in-demand careers within healthcare. And then really on the other side of things, we really work with our entry-level team members to be able to take them from jobs and put them into careers within the organization and help them move from entry-level roles to middle and highly skilled roles. We work closely with talent acquisition, but talent acquisition mainly focuses on those work-ready populations. Workforce development focuses on everybody else that may want to get into the career within healthcare, but may not know how. So really what we do is we build pipelines for individuals to come from the outside or move up within the organization. Our population includes a number of individuals with barriers to employment. They tend to be high barriers as well. Barriers such as socioeconomic barriers, education, and just awareness of in-demand careers in healthcare. So some of those strategies that we oversee are pretty robust, and one flows into the other, and we really try to build it out where we don't have a siloed approach to workforce development and building sustainable careers. We really want to create that robust system-wide strategy. So some of those strategies include things that Kenya mentioned, like corporate internships and helping individuals get their foot in the door directly from college partners. And other programs include our Diverse Abilities program, which is our disability hiring initiative, where we strategically source individuals that have disabilities from the community and bring them into our organization. Other programs include our registered apprenticeship programs, which is a brand new venture for us, as well as we work closely with the youth population as well to expose and then bridge them to employment opportunities. So those are some of the main ones, but we have a number of other strategies as well that we oversee. And really kind of going into, touching on the subject of partnerships, none of this could be possible without partnerships with outside organizations. And, we really can't go at this alone. There's organizations out there that we really partner closely with, including local schools, local universities, community-based organizations, and workforce development boards. So, I think if I wanted to showcase one of those partnerships that is kind of a newer venture for us, I really want to mention our registered apprenticeship program, which is, really new to healthcare. Last year we launched a facilities maintenance apprenticeship program, which is a 2.5-year program in partnership with the State Department of Workforce Development, as well as Milwaukee Area Technical School or Technical College. Students go in, they get paid to learn, they get paid to go to class, and they get paid on the job, and they earn industry certifications when they graduate from that program. We're also currently launching a culinary arts line cook apprenticeship program as well. And then we have a pharmacy technician program rolling out next year as well. So lots of exciting work. Yeah, I could definitely talk all day about all the partnerships we have, but just want to showcase some of the stuff we're doing at a high level and then take additional questions as we go.
That's wonderful, Jerry. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, anyone who has questions, please feel free to chat them to us through the conversation button on the side of the session. Our next speaker is going to be Jenna, and I introduced her before, but she's the Director of Global Sustainability at Johnson Controls, Inc. And following Jenna's presentation, we'll do a live chat with the audience and yourselves. Jenna, take it away.
All right, so thanks, Lisa. I am Jenna Kundi, the Director of Global Sustainability for Johnson Controls. So partnerships, I'll talk a little bit about workforce partnerships, but also sustainability partnerships, because that's where that's where I work, and that's what I know best, and that's what I think a lot of us come to this from. So I just want to talk first just briefly about the intersection of workforce and sustainability partnerships. So Green Biz comes out with this report every year, the State of Green Business Report. This year, the 2020 State of Green Business Report had some really interesting data around workforce recruitment and retention. So 4 in 10 millennials said they have chosen a job because the company performed better on sustainability than other choices. So just want to kind of underscore that a little bit. 40%, 4 out of 10 millennials chose a place to work because it had a better sustainability record than other companies that they were looking at. And then this I love, once they get there, they hold the company accountable. So 70% of millennials said they would stay with a company long-term if it had a strong sustainability plan. So workforce recruitment, workforce retention is intertwined with sustainability. And our sustainability strategy, in fact, under our people pillar, it's about that culture. It's about, so the goal of that pillar is to foster a culture of sustainability that attracts and engages people who want to make a difference. So if you're somebody who wants to make a difference at Johnson Controls, we want you to come and we want you to stay. So how do we pull in and keep these folks? So some partnerships that we have in workforce development, first of all. So around diversity, we partner with and invest in organizations that develop these best-in-class female and diverse talent. So like the Society of Women Engineers, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, National Society of Black Engineers, Student Veterans of America, those types of organizations that develop diverse talent, those are the groups that we partner with. You know, we do recruitment through them, we invest in them. So that's one of our strategies. Another, and both of you guys talked about this, is technical expertise. So it is just true that we need more HVAC technicians, right? Trane knows this well. We need more HVAC technicians. So we partner with many organizations to fill this gap. One example, we partner with Lincoln Tech. We sponsor classrooms, we supply equipment, and we help with curricula on 10 Lincoln Tech campuses around the country. So in turn, they have sent over, just in the last year and a half, over 100 HVAC and electronic students that we've hired. And so that's just the beginning. And the other thing that's exciting for us about that is that these are diverse candidates. These are women, these are minorities. This is a diverse, we try to target diversity in where we hold these training campuses, and it's worked. So that's, I don't know, one of the things that's exciting. And then we also partner with nonprofits. So this is also kind of workforce development. So our foundation follows our employees. So for example, we are a sponsor of First Robotics. So this is just something that I'm personally excited about. STEM careers is obviously important at Johnson Controls. Both of my kids are First Robotics kids. It's a thing that teaches high school students about thinking critically, solving problems. And if you're a mentor for a First Robotics team, Johnson Controls provides funding for that team. So it helps its employees kind of follow the money. The money follows where our employees are engaged. So if you're on a nonprofit board, so for example, I'm on the board of the Urban Ecology Center, Johnson Controls funds that summer intern program, again, pulls in diverse candidates for Urban Ecology Center to connect people in cities to nature and each other. That's the mission of the Urban Ecology Center. So, and then we hope someday those employees that are from the Urban Ecology Center who are excited to work in these kinds of fields will ultimately work at Johnson Controls. Same with these great STEM kids from First Robotics. Globally, just one more thing I'll mention. We partner with local nonprofits, again, through our global sustainability ambassadors. So we have people in different regions of the world called global sustainability ambassadors. They work to develop kind of green teams. Let's call them green teams. We call them impact, whatever. And those teams also work with nonprofits around the world. And we let those employee passions drive the work and the funding and workforce development and recruitment and retention. So this helps keep our employees. So we engage those employees in helping us achieve our sustainability strategy goals, but working in the community to help pull in more people and to keep those employees engaged. So those are just a few of our workforce development and retention things that we do.
Amazing. Thank you, Jenna. Okay, so I have to say, all three of you are just amazing, and the work your organizations are doing, it makes me very excited. So I'm going to dive in. Recently, the Potter Novell Group did a study on Gen Zers and Gen Zers behaviors tied to purpose. And I want to read you one of the statistics from it, and then I want to have a conversation, because I think the work that the four of us actually are doing is kind of at the intersection of HR, sustainability, communications, and operations. Right? We kind of cut across a wide berth of the business sector, and so we're kind of at this really unique precipice. So here's one of the key findings from the research that came out this summer tied to Gen Zers. And I know Jenna had talked about the Gen Zers before in the Green Biz study. So 72% of Generation Zers believe companies have more responsibility than ever before to address social justice issues. And 56% say companies that do not talk about social justice issues in their marketing or communications are out of touch. And I'm a Marcom person, so I'm not going to give Lisa's feedback, but I really would like to hear what the three of you think, especially in relationship to, again, recruitment and engagement with your workforce. Who would like to go first? Kenya, would you like to start
I'll
us
jump
off?
in.
Fantastic.
I definitely have a perspective on it. From a diversity recruiting perspective, I think our students, and Jenna mentioned this, right? They are aware. They're looking at all the resources available that you provide about your organization, including social media, to assess whether or not you're listening and paying attention and have a perspective. And then once hired, once you've kind of crossed that threshold, there is a level of accountability. So I do think that data is not, the numbers are interesting to hear, but I'm not surprised by it. I think there is a higher level of expectation. Students totally understand the value of collective effort. And I have a personal passion, but if I can join a network of people that also see value in the things that I see value in, I can get a result a lot faster. And I think that's one of the things that's driving wanting to connect, is that we can actually work together on this and solve maybe things in the past that we would have said, oh, that's impossible for someone to solve it. I think they're trying to find a pathway to collective effort to get resolution in a lot of spaces. Social justice, sustainability efforts. I feel like for them, those things are passion points. And if I'm going to spend that much time somewhere, you're also going to help me achieve some changes in the world.
I totally agree with that. And I think that many millennials would say, you're right on, Kenya, because I hear this from the millennials that I interact with. They expect businesses to be making a difference in the world. And Evolution Marketing, my company, is a certified B Corp. And that's kind of part of the values that the field that I'm in, is that more and more businesses want to become certified B Corps, because not only about recruitment, but because our employees want to be making a difference, right? And they want to change the world, and they want to use business as a force for good to make changes happen in the world. All right, Jerry, I'm going to switch it to you next. What are you thinking based on your experience here in Wisconsin?
Yeah, so I can speak as a millennial, not afraid to share it, but our work is rewarding. We're in workforce development, and it's not just a job. It is, partnering with organizations to be able to give back to the community. And it's not just because it's the right thing to do, but it also, everybody that you hire from this population, they have families, and they have, every individual you hire, I mean, that's a life you're changing, and you're changing their career trajectory. And it, employment is also a social determinant of health. So, you're being able to give back to them and, provide them with corporately sponsored, health insurance, and being able to give them access and their families to medical care. So, really when we look at it, I mentioned that social determinant of health, but, the work we're also doing, we have something we are, really proud to do, but, we're part of an anchor mission strategy with, other organizations as well as other healthcare organizations across the United States. Really what we look at is, our hospitals are anchor institutions within the communities we serve. So we want to make sure that our workforces are also representative of those communities we serve as well in those communities. So, really to summarize, the work we're doing here, it's the right thing to do, but it's also, very rewarding, and definitely, I can speak as a millennial that, definitely love to come to work every day and do what we're doing.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. That's wonderful. Jenna, would you like to share some insight? I'm thinking maybe too about the green teams in your ambassador program. It sounds like that's a really great way for employees to kind of give back and have impact on JCI. Or you called them MPAs? Oh, we can't hear you, Jenna. You're muted. Top left corner.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
So let me talk first about diversity. So you mentioned that. So after the murder of George Floyd, our CEO came out with a really strong statement, and I was so proud to be a Johnson Controls employee at that point. He was just like, Black Lives Matter, and our Black employees are weary and angry. And it was just a very passionate and strong statement, but it's backed up not just by passion, but by real metrics and goals and actions and people. So we have a chief diversity officer. We have our executive team, their compensation. One of the things that goes toward their compensation is whether or not they're meeting diversity goals for the organization. At the highest level, our board, we have goals around that. We have 4 out of 12 people right now are diverse candidates, and we'd like to get more. We really work hard on integrating those metrics at all levels for diversity at Johnson Controls. So it's just a thing that's really important to us. We have a lot of strategy around it, a lot of action around it. And it's important, it's critical. And so in terms of just employee engagement in general and, community involvement. So we absolutely encourage. So we have these we call them business resource groups around the world. Our sustainability ambassadors, part of their job is to recruit more of these teams to form more of these green teams, or these business resource groups to form, to then provide more community engagement in the communities where we live and work, right? So we want to make every community where we live and work a little bit better than when we left it.
Oh, that's great. You guys are all just doing such great work. I'm just so impressed, and I'm so impressed with all of your companies. So kind of to follow this up, what I would like each of you to do is to give us something tangible that we could take back, whether it's to our HR or our operations or sustainability team. And I'm going to read you one more statistic, and I kind of want what you're going to give us back, give the audience back as take-home message, is something they could do tied into this. So going back to the Potter Novelli study, 71% of millennials believe companies must recognize their role in systemic racism, and 45% will cancel brands that are not willing to address racial inequality. And so I guess what I'd like to know is, how do you address transparency within this space, right? We're really in this, like I said, HR, sustainability, operations space. How do you address transparency there? And how do you, and I think Kenya had talked to me before about job descriptions. And I thought what you had told me was just brilliant, that back in the day, every job description, if you worked at Trane, you had to be an engineer, have an engineering degree, and that the reality is that that's not the case today. And so I'm looking for each of you to share something, some insight that you have that that everybody can take back to their companies, kind of tied to this bigger question of, the world is changing really quickly, and we can't be doing things the way we've done in the past. So what insight do you have, or tools do you have? So Kenya, I kind of took yours away, but I'm sure you probably have another one. And if you want, I can give you a minute to think about it.
No, I can definitely jump right in. I think, my call to action for people is that we're always looking for ways to bring people into our organization. And, nobody's asking anyone to lower kind of your hiring expectations, but we really want to widen the gates for opportunity for people. So, looking at job descriptions, looking at what we said are requirements, in today's world, young people can get on YouTube and teach themselves a ton of things that we didn't have access to. I didn't have access to. So really be thoughtful around, are the requirements in the job today the requirements that are documented, right? A lot of times we're only just pulling out the job description for the person that exited the role and not really being thoughtful about what is the opportunity, what is the skill set that's needed today, to make sure that we're really getting the right talent into the role. The other thing I would also say is look at your process, right? So are you ensuring that everyone is being reviewed in a fair and consistent way? Are you, having little meetings with people before the real interview? Are you ensuring that everyone gets a fair opportunity to have the right level of conversation? So I think that's something all of us, if you're in a position to refer people to job opportunities, or if you're the person that's actually making a hiring decision, just check your own process and make sure that the process that you're using will get you a result of having a fair and equitable, diverse panel so that you can make a fair and equitable hiring decision.
That's excellent insight from the SHRM professional. Thank you. That is great, Kenya. Thank you so much. Jerry, you're in HR department as well, so please give us your additional HR knowledge.
Yeah, definitely, and well said, Kenya. I think our work is not only about building sustainable workforce solutions, but it's really at that intersection of the conversations across the country this summer, with social and racial equity. I think we're at the forefront of that within each organization, and be able to say, hey, we can, make a difference within the organization to add more diverse, talents, as well as, be more inclusive, within the organization as well. Things that individuals can take back to their organizations or the HR teams, whether they're a large organization like Advocate Aurora, or, whether it's, an individual that owns their own business and they wear many hats. I think there's an ability to partner at any level, whether you have, a workforce development professional like me, or, whether if you're going at it alone, you can also do it as well by, calling your local workforce development board and seeing what resources exist for you out there. There's lots of programs that are in existence at every workforce development board that can get you that talent, and it's actually relatively easy to tap into. And then my other piece of advice is start small. We started our efforts with 1 or 2 individuals, and then grew it from there to incorporate dozens into hundreds of individuals into our organization. So, you don't need to, implement 20 different programs. It just starts with bringing 1 individual in and starting from there.
That's great advice, Jerry. Thank you. And I like the fact that you talked about small businesses too. So if you don't know, there's a workforce development board in every state of the country. In Wisconsin, we happen to have 11, but those workforce development boards are here to help. So look up your local workforce development board. And if you're in our area, it's called the Waukesha-Ozaukee, Washington County Workforce Development Board. And Jerry and I can answer questions or, help you there. And we have wonderful staff who also have access to programming and resource dollars from the federal government that are brought in to each of the regions to help with programming like Jerry's talking about. Jenna, what do you think? And how are you guys at Johnson Controls? What insight do you have to share about the cool things?
So in terms of something actionable that I would really recommend that all companies do around workforce development related to diversity, inclusion, and sustainability is have a strategy. So so pull those leaders together, figure out what is your vision, what is your mission, what are your goals, what are your measurable goals. And then Lisa, you talked about transparency, put those out there. So then, if those issues are material to you, and they are, then, put that out in your sustainability report against those metrics. How well are you doing? Do you have the board diversity that you want? Do you have the workforce diversity that you want? Have you met your, sustainability goals? So that, everyone can see, right? So being, having the strategy, and being transparent about your progress toward that strategy. And everybody gets that, whatever we're trying, right? Like if you say like, we didn't make it. We tried to do this thing. It didn't work. We're going to try this other thing next year. That's okay too, right? That's kind of part of that transparency. And so just start with a strategy is my big advice.
That's great. And I appreciate the being honest about it, because we all set goals and we all may not make the goals, especially after a year like 2020. So a question has come through. The question function, I guess it was turned off for a little while, but it's back on. So here's a question for the whole panel. This is kind of bridging several topics that have been covered today. So talking about transparency and authenticity, have any of you been asked about about the way your companies invest its money? If you're saying you're doing these things, which is awesome, exclamation point, are you following through via your investments? So the question is, are your firms doing ESG investing? And I'm just going to say real quick, at Evolution Marketing, we do ESG investing. And actually, one of our partners, Riverwater Partners, is who the 401ks for Evolution Marketing are through. And they're all in ESG. And Riverwater Partners is a certified B Corp. So we like to work with other certified B Corps. So that's kind of what we're doing at my business. Jenna, it sounds like you look like you wanted to answer. So please tell us what JCI is doing.
Yeah, so this is a place where we've done a lot of exciting things in the last couple of years. So in 2019, we were one of the first industrial companies to do a sustainable finance agreement. And then this year, we were one of the first US companies to do a green bond. So what does that mean? That means that, again, with the transparency, if we meet, so with a sustainable finance agreement, our rate every year, so we pay to have this finance line of credit, basically. And that rate that we pay is tied to whether or not we meet sustainability goals. So we have one around our products and services, we have one around our operational efficiency, and we have one around our safety. And so we pay more or less if we do or don't meet our sustainability goals. So it's like a direct connection there. And then with the green bond, we just put that out. And as folks, put money toward the green bond as they invest in us, we use that money toward green products and services. So it has to go toward green products and services. And then we just recently did an analysis with the Corporate Knights taxonomy, it's called, and looking at how much of our revenue is green revenue. And so we went through the whole company and tried to figure out, all the different products and services we have. It's a big company. And 45% of our revenue is green revenue, according to Corporate Knights green revenue taxonomy. So we want to increase that, right? So we have goals around increasing that as well. And we just put out our science-based targets that have increased investment, R&D, capital investment, all of this around green products and services, because we really feel like that's where Johnson Controls growth is, right? Is in providing green products and services. So, making your buildings as possibly efficient they can be, using AI to, make super efficient choices within your building on a daily basis. Sorry, so I will stop going on. But anyway, yes, it's an exciting topic that we're all over. So if you look at our sustainability page of Johnson Controls website too, there's a whole tab around sustainable finance.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to say it. Awesome sauce, Jenna. That's 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 great. Kenya, I bet you guys are probably doing some cool things too. Oh, you're muted.
Whoops, I can speak to some of the ways that we're doing on a little smaller scale in terms of the people that we're partnering with. So I know Jenna had mentioned like the relationship that they have with National Society of Black Engineers. And I think it's a really good one to spotlight because one of the goals of NSBE is to actually deliver to kind of the marketplace 10,000 engineers that are, connected to the organization. So every year they're trying to tracking towards that number. So we're partners with them kind of in this board of corporate affiliates, but we've also done some additional investing in that because we want, of course, there to be, this flood of diverse engineering talent into the market, but really trying to find people that are aligned to goals that you are aligned with as well, and redirecting some of your investments into the community, into those partnerships where we know that that's just good ground, right? We've had talent that has been attached to NSBE when they were undergrads that are now executive sponsors for our relationship with that program. This summer, NSBE also, had to kind of pivot into the virtual world. They have a Seek summer educational experience for kids that has been a 3-week in place, summer camp. Well, summer camp was not in person this summer. They had 14,000 young people that went through an experience where they quickly had to pivot and make that virtual. So all of the partners that had typically invested in their geography became kind of co-support for this virtual experience. And it became more of a US program as opposed to a Charlotte program or a Houston program. So luckily there are opportunities like that for us to infuse dollars, resources, and technology into partners that we know are just good ground.
Okay, I'm going to say it. That's also awesome sauce. 14,000 kids, 3 weeks, virtual, and this really cool program. Wow.
Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job with it.
That's amazing. Wow. So you talk about this, look at innovation, right? This is innovation in the world today. Jerry, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I definitely can't speak to the question too much, but we're a little bit different here. We're in we're a nonprofit organization, so really anything we do that impacts the community, we closely monitor and report off to make sure that as a nonprofit organization we're giving back to the communities that we serve. So all the work that we're doing in this space and impacting the community, whether that's youth or those with disabilities. We're making sure we log and report that off just to maintain our status as a nonprofit organization, and it adds up really quick with the work that we're doing in the community as well.
That's awesome. I was waiting for you to talk about being a nonprofit. I'm so glad you were able to. So we have 2 businesses that are doing pretty amazing work, and then we have a nonprofit who's also doing pretty amazing work. I think this is great. I know our session's coming to a close, and Jesse's going to be here in just a minute, but I wanted to let everybody know who's still on that we're going to be doing a peer-to-peer session from 4 to 5 o'clock. And so our panel is going to stay on in this room and in this space, and we'll have the opportunity to do a deeper dive into some of the topics we covered today. And I'm so excited to have our professionals stay on with us and who can give us some really great expert advice and share their knowledge, continue to share their knowledge at a deeper level with all of the attendees. And we have some great poll questions too that we'll be addressing to kind of gauge you, the audience, what you're interested in learning about and what things that you're challenged with right now in your dealing with your workforce issues and challenges. So I think we're just waiting for Jessie to come pop on any moment. And I think here she is. Oh, you're muted, Jess.
Hey, Jessie.
Got it. 2 steps. Camera, mic. I'm here. Thank you so much, everyone. You can feel free to stay on, or if you want to take a little break, go ahead and jump off. But I'm just going to wrap up the day for the conference, our first day of our virtual conference here. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you to this exceptional panel. This is really timely information that's important to the world of sustainability. As our keynote mentioned this morning, there's so much more interest about the people side and the social side of sustainability, which is really great because it's been people, planet, profit for 2 decades, and they're finally starting to be more equal. So thanks. It was a great day. I enjoyed being here. I hope that you will join us tomorrow. We have another great lineup for you scheduled tomorrow. And you have 5 minutes till all of the next things start. So hopefully you're not too hungry. If you want to get a beverage, it's happy hour. So feel free to grab a beverage of your choice. And we'll see some of you. I'll see some of you at 4 o'clock or tomorrow. Thanks again.